r/pettyrevenge MIL turned my nephew against me, so I ruined her Christmas. The look of pure terror in my nephew's eyes when I walked into my own kitchen will haunt me forever. 8-year-old Mason, who used to run to me screaming Aunt Emma every time I visited, pressed himself against the refrigerator like I was some kind of monster. "Mason, honey, what's wrong?" I asked, crouching down to his level, keeping my voice soft and gentle like I always did with him. He shook his head violently, tears streaming down his cheeks. "I'm not supposed to talk to you. Grandma Linda says you're bad. She says you want to hurt me." My heart shattered into a million pieces right there on my kitchen floor. This was 3 months ago, and I still feel that same crushing weight in my chest every time I think about it. Mason had been my little shadow for years. I was the fun aunt who taught him how to build blanket forts, who snuck him extra cookies, who read him bedtime stories in funny voices until he giggled himself to sleep. His mom, my sister-in-law Kate, used to joke that Mason loved me more than her. But something had changed over the summer. The hugs stopped. The excited phone calls asking when I was coming over stopped. When I tried to engage him at family gatherings, he'd hide behind his grandmother Linda, my mother-in-law from hell, and peek at me like I might suddenly sprout fangs. I thought maybe he was just going through a phase. Kids get weird sometimes, right? But then came that day in my kitchen when Kate had to drop him off for an emergency. The way he looked at me wasn't just distant or moody. It was fear. Pure, genuine fear. After Kate picked him up that afternoon, I cornered my husband Jake about it. "Your mother has been poisoning Mason against me," I told him, pacing our living room like a caged animal. Jake, bless his conflict-avoiding heart, just shook his head. "Mom wouldn't do that. You're probably reading too much into it. He's afraid of me, Jake." An 8-year-old boy who used to beg me to come to his soccer games is now afraid to be in the same room as me. That doesn't just happen. But Jake refused to believe his precious mother could be capable of such manipulation. And when I tried to talk to Kate directly, she got defensive and accused me of starting drama and looking for someone to blame for Mason's natural development. Natural development? Since when is a loving child suddenly becoming terrified of their favorite aunt considered natural development? I spent weeks trying to figure out what I could have possibly done wrong. Had I been too strict about something? Too lenient? Had I accidentally scared him somehow? I replayed every interaction we'd had over the past year, searching for some moment where I might have crossed a line. But deep down, I knew the truth. Linda had never liked me. From the moment Jake brought me home 6 years ago, she'd made it clear I wasn't good enough for her son. She was subtle about it at first, backhanded compliments about my cooking, little digs about my career, constant comparisons to Jake's ex-girlfriend who was apparently a sweet girl from a good family. Now she'd crossed a line I didn't even know existed. It's one thing to take shots at me. I'm an adult, I can handle her passive-aggressive comments and pointed looks. But turning a child against someone who loves him? Making him believe lies about someone who would literally die before hurting him? That was unforgivable. And Linda was about to learn exactly what unforgivable looked like. The breaking point came at Jake's cousin's birthday party in October. I watched Linda work her magic from across the backyard, and it was like seeing a master manipulator in her element. "Mason, sweetie, come sit with Grandma," she called out when she noticed him eyeing the bounce house where I was helping some of the other kids. "You don't want to go over there. Remember what we talked about?" Mason's face fell, but he obediently trudged over to her lawn chair. She pulled him onto her lap and whispered something in his ear while shooting me a look that could have melted steel. Whatever she said made Mason glance at me with those same terrified eyes before burying his face in her shoulder. I felt sick. Actually, physically sick. I excused myself and went to the bathroom, where I splashed cold water on my face and tried not to scream. When I came back out, I overheard Linda talking to my sister-in-law Kate and Jake's Aunt Carol by the dessert table. "Just think it's better if we limit Mason's exposure," Linda was saying in that fake concerned voice she'd perfected over the years. "Emma's been so unstable lately. Did you know she cornered poor Jake, ranting and raving about imaginary problems? The woman clearly has some issues she needs to work through." "I had no idea," Carol gasped, clutching her pearls like Linda had just revealed I was a serial killer. Kate nodded gravely. "Mason's been having nightmares. I think he picks up on the tension she brings to family events." "Nightmares? What nightmares? And what tension?" I brought homemade cookies and helped clean up after every family gathering. But the worst part wasn't even the lies. It was watching Jake nod along, not defending me at all. My own husband was letting his mother assassinate my character while I stood 20 feet away. That night, I confronted him again. This time, I had ammunition. "I heard your mother today," I said as we got ready for bed. "She told your family I was unstable and causing Mason nightmares. Are you going to let her keep doing this?" Jake sighed and sat heavily on our bed. I know Mom can be difficult. But maybe if you just gave her some space for a while? Let things cool down? Space? I stared at him in disbelief. "Jake, she's destroying my relationship with Mason. She's turning your entire family against me with lies. And your solution is for me to give her space? It's just until Christmas. She's really excited about this big surprise she's planning for Mason. Once that's over, things will probably go back to normal. Christmas. Of course. Linda lived for being the center of attention during the holidays, playing the role of a perfect grandmother who could do no wrong. I'd heard her bragging about this mysterious Christmas surprise for weeks, some elaborate gift that was going to make her Mason's absolute favorite person in the world. What if they don't go back to normal? I asked quietly. What if she's poisoned him against me permanently? Jake just shrugged. Kids are resilient. He'll get over it. He'll get over it. Like my broken heart was just some minor inconvenience that would resolve itself with time. That's when I realized Jake wasn't going to help me. Kate wasn't going to help me. Nobody in his family was going to stand up to Linda or question her motives. They were all perfectly content to let her paint me as the villain while she played the victim. Fine. If they wanted a villain, I'd give them one. But first, I needed to know exactly what Linda was planning for Christmas. Because whatever it was, whatever elaborate surprise she had in store to cement herself as Mason's hero, I was going to make sure it backfired spectacularly. Time for some reconnaissance. The next few weeks turned me into someone I barely recognized, a spy in my own family. I started paying attention to every whispered conversation, every secretive phone call, every knowing glance between Linda and Kate at family gatherings. My first real breakthrough came during Jake's birthday dinner at his parents' house. While everyone was distracted by cake and presents, I noticed Linda slip away to take a phone call in the kitchen. I excused myself to use the bathroom but took a detour past the kitchen doorway. Yes, the PlayStation 5 bundle with the VR headset, she was saying in hushed tones. And you're sure it'll be delivered December 23rd? Perfect. Mason's going to absolutely lose his mind. A PlayStation 5 with VR. I did some quick mental math, that was easily a $800 plus gift. For an 8-year-old. Linda was going nuclear. But there was more. I want everything set up Christmas morning before he gets there, she continued. The whole family will be watching, and I want it to be perfect. This needs to be the Christmas he remembers forever. The Christmas he remembers forever. Of course. Linda wasn't just buying Mason an expensive gift, she was orchestrating a performance. A grand gesture designed to cement her position as the most important person in his life, with an audience of the entire extended family to witness her triumph. Over the next few days, I became a woman obsessed. I started casually dropping by Kate's house more often, hoping to overhear conversations. I volunteered to help with Christmas planning, suddenly becoming the most helpful sister-in-law in history. I even offered to coordinate gift deliveries for the family, claiming I wanted to help make this Christmas special. The intelligence I gathered was better than I could have imagined. Linda had been planning this for months. She'd not only ordered the gaming setup but had also arranged for Jake's tech-savvy cousin Ryan to come over early Christmas morning to help set everything up. She coordinated with Kate to make sure Mason arrived at exactly 10 a.m., right after the setup would be complete but while the extended family was still gathered around to witness the big reveal. She'd even planned her speech. I overheard her practicing it during a phone call with her sister. Mason, my special boy, Grandma Linda wanted to give you something that shows just how much you mean to me. Some people in this family might try to confuse you or fill your head with nonsense, but I want you to always remember who really loves you. Some people in this family. She was going to use Christmas morning, in front of everyone, to take another shot at me while positioning herself as Mason's savior. But the most devastating piece of intelligence came from an unexpected source, Jake himself. Mom's really excited about Christmas, he mentioned one evening while we were watching TV. She keeps talking about how this is going to fix everything with Mason. She thinks once he sees how much she loves him, he'll stop being confused about family dynamics. Confused about family dynamics. That's what they were calling it now. Not traumatized by lies or manipulated by his grandmother, but confused about family dynamics. What exactly does she think needs fixing? I asked, keeping my voice carefully neutral. Jake shifted uncomfortably. You know how kids get mixed up sometimes. Mason's been asking Kate some weird questions lately about whether you're actually part of the family, stuff like that. Mom thinks a really special Christmas will help him remember what's important. My blood turned to ice. What kind of questions? I don't know, asking if you're going to be at Christmas, if he has to sit near you, whether you're really his aunt or just someone married to his uncle. Kid stuff. Kid stuff. An 8-year-old questioning whether I belonged in his family was just kid stuff. But now I understood Linda's endgame. This wasn't just about being the favorite grandmother. She was trying to erase me from Mason's life entirely, and Christmas morning was going to be her victory lap. The whole family would be there to watch Mason's joy at receiving this incredible gift from Grandma Linda, while I sat in the corner like some unwanted stranger he'd been taught to fear. Well, Linda had made one crucial mistake in her master plan. She'd forgotten that I was still family. Which meant I had access to all the same information, all the same people, and all the same opportunities to make Christmas morning memorable. Just not in the way she was expecting. The first part of my plan came together almost too easily. It started with a simple Google search that revealed something Linda had apparently overlooked in her rush to be the hero grandmother. The PlayStation 5 was being shipped through a delivery service that required signature confirmation. And guess who had volunteered to help coordinate Christmas deliveries for the family? I called the shipping company, armed with Linda's confirmation number that I'd glimpsed on a piece of paper she'd carelessly left on Kate's counter. With my most concerned daughter-in-law voice, I explained that there had been a family emergency and the delivery address needed to be updated. I'm so sorry for the confusion, I told the customer service representative, but my mother-in-law is in the hospital and won't be home to sign for the package. Could we have it delivered to my address instead? I'm coordinating all the Christmas preparations now. It was scary how easy it was. One quick address change, and Linda's grand gesture was now sitting in my living room closet. But having the PlayStation was only step one. The real genius would be in the timing. Over the next week, I threw myself into being the most helpful family member imaginable. I volunteered to bring breakfast pastries Christmas morning. I offered to help set up decorations at Linda's house. I even suggested organizing a gift exchange schedule to make sure everyone got their moment in the spotlight. Emma's being so wonderful this year, I overheard Kate tell Jake. Maybe she's finally growing up and realizing how her behavior was affecting Mason. My behavior. Right. The beautiful irony was that my sudden helpfulness was actually making Linda suspicious. During a family dinner, I caught her watching me with narrowed eyes as I cheerfully helped clear dishes and offered to coordinate Christmas morning logistics. I can handle my own Christmas planning, thank you, she said icily when I suggested creating a timeline for gift giving. Of course. I just know how stressful hosting can be. I want to make sure your special surprise for Mason goes off without a hitch. The way her face tightened when I mentioned special surprise told me everything I needed to know. She was starting to worry that her secret wasn't as secure as she thought. Good. Let her worry. But Linda wasn't the only one getting suspicious. Jake had started giving me strange looks whenever I volunteered for Christmas duties. You're being weird, he said bluntly one evening. You hate family coordination stuff. Last year you complained for 3 days about having to bring a side dish. Maybe I'm trying to make more of an effort, I replied. You said things would go back to normal after Christmas, right? I'm just trying to show your family that I care. He studied my face like he was trying to read my thoughts. You're not planning something, are you? Like what? I don't know. You just seem different. More focused. Focused. That was one way to put it. I was focused like a laser beam on making sure Linda's Christmas morning went exactly how she deserved. I'm fine, Jake. I just want this Christmas to be memorable for everyone. That much was true. 2 days before Christmas, I got a text from Kate. Linda's freaking out about some delivery mix-up. Her special gift for Mason got sent to the wrong address. She's calling everyone trying to track it down. I responded with appropriate concern. Oh no. Is there anything I can do to help? She's got Ryan calling the shipping company. Hopefully they can sort it out before Christmas morning. Poor Ryan. Poor Linda. Poor shipping company that was about to get very confused when they tried to explain how a package had mysteriously delivered itself to an address that didn't match their records. My phone buzzed with another text, this one from Linda herself. Emma, did you receive any packages by mistake? There's been some kind of delivery error. I stared at the message for a long moment, savoring the barely contained panic I could feel radiating through the screen. Then I typed back, no, nothing here. But I'll keep an eye out. I hope everything works out for Christmas morning. The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times, like she was typing and deleting responses. Finally, thank you. 2 words that somehow managed to convey both suspicion and desperation. Christmas Eve arrived with Linda in full crisis mode and me sleeping better than I had in months. Tomorrow was going to be very interesting indeed. Christmas Eve night, I barely slept. Not from nerves, but from pure anticipation. Every few hours, my phone would buzz with increasingly frantic messages in the family group chat. Linda, 11:47 p.m., still no luck with the delivery company. They claim the package was delivered successfully but can't tell me where. Kate, 12:23 a.m., Mom, try to get some sleep. Maybe we can figure something else out in the morning. Linda, 12:24 a.m., there is nothing else. This was supposed to be perfect. Ryan, 1:15 a.m., I've called 3 different departments. Nobody can explain what happened. It's like the package just vanished. I screenshot every message, my smile growing wider with each one. Linda's masterpiece was crumbling, and she had no idea that her least favorite family member was holding all the pieces. But at 6 a.m., my phone rang. Jake's name flashed on the screen. Your mom's been calling me for 2 hours, I answered before he could speak. This is serious. She's really losing it. I've never seen her this upset about anything. Good, I thought. Out loud, I said, I'm sorry to hear that. Christmas morning delivery problems are the worst. She thinks someone in the family is sabotaging her. My blood went cold. What do you mean? She keeps saying it's too much of a coincidence. That someone must have intercepted the package on purpose. She's been calling everyone, asking weird questions about who had access to shipping information. Shit. I'd underestimated her. Linda might be manipulative, but she wasn't stupid. That's crazy, Jake. Who would do something like that? I don't know. But she specifically asked if you'd been acting strange lately. My heart started hammering. What did you tell her? The truth. That you've been weirdly helpful and involved with Christmas planning. Which, let's be honest, is completely out of character for you. Double shit. I was trying to be nice. You said things would go back to normal after Christmas if I just. I know what I said. But now she's convinced you're involved somehow. She's coming over here at 8 to search our house. She's what? She wants to check if any packages were delivered here by mistake. I tried to talk her out of it, but she's beyond reasoning right now. Please tell me you didn't do anything stupid. I stared at the ceiling, my mind racing. The PlayStation was literally 15 feet away from where I was lying, hidden behind winter coats in our bedroom closet. If Linda searched the house. I have to go, I said. Emma, wait. I hung up and bolted to the closet. The massive box was exactly where I'd left it, PlayStation 5 Pro bundle clearly visible on the shipping label. My address, my name, but Linda's confirmation number on the receipt I'd stupidly kept attached. If she found this, I was dead. Not just dead, I'd be completely excommunicated from the family. Jake would never forgive me. Kate would ban me from seeing Mason forever, not that the kid would want to see me anyway. And Linda would have all the ammunition she needed to prove I was exactly the horrible person she'd been claiming I was. But throwing it away now would be admitting defeat. 3 months of watching Mason flinch away from me, 3 months of listening to Linda's poison spreading through the family, 3 months of Jake refusing to defend me, all of it would be for nothing. No. I'd come too far to back down now. I grabbed the box and my car keys. If Linda wanted to search my house, she was welcome to it. But Mason's Christmas surprise was taking a little road trip. 20 minutes later, I was standing in the 24-hour storage facility across town, shoving a PlayStation into Unit 247. Linda could tear my house apart all she wanted. But I still had one more move to make. I made it back home with 10 minutes to spare before Linda's invasion. Jake was pacing the living room, still in his pajamas, looking like he'd aged 5 years overnight. Where were you? He demanded. I've been calling you for 20 minutes. Starbucks run, I said, holding up a coffee cup I'd grabbed on the way back. Figured I'd need caffeine to deal with your mother accusing me of grand theft PlayStation. Before he could respond, car door slammed in our driveway. Through the window, I watched Linda march toward our front door like a general leading a charge, with Kate and Ryan trailing behind her looking deeply uncomfortable. She brought backup, I muttered. The doorbell didn't ring, Linda just walked in like she owned the place. She'd clearly been crying, her usually perfect makeup smudged and her silver hair disheveled. For a split second, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Where is it? She said without preamble, her eyes scanning our living room like she expected to find a giant gaming console just sitting on our coffee table. Good morning to you too, Linda. Merry Christmas Eve. Don't. Her voice was shaking with rage. Don't you dare play innocent with me. I know you took it. Kate stepped forward, looking mortified. Mom, maybe we should. No. I'm not leaving until I search this house top to bottom. Linda turned to Jake. Your wife has been acting suspicious for weeks. Suddenly volunteering to help with deliveries, asking questions about Christmas plans, being fake nice to everyone. She's been planning this. Jake looked between us, clearly torn. Mom, this is crazy. Why would Emma steal Mason's Christmas present? Because she's vindictive, Linda spat. Because she can't stand that Mason finally sees her for what she really is. And what's that exactly? The words were out of my mouth before I could stop them. Linda's eyes glittered with malicious satisfaction. A jealous, manipulative woman who can't accept that she's not as important to this family as she thinks she is. The room went dead silent. Kate looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor. Ryan was studying his shoes like they held the secrets of the universe. Jake's mouth was hanging open. Wow, I said softly. Tell me how you really feel, Linda. I'll tell you how I feel. I feel like my grandson has been confused and upset for months because certain people in this family don't know their place. I feel like I've spent my retirement savings on a Christmas gift that was supposed to help him feel secure and loved, only to have it stolen by someone who can't stand seeing me make him happy. You think you make him happy? The laugh that came out of me was bitter and sharp. Linda, that kid is terrified. He has nightmares. He flinches when people touch him unexpectedly. That's not happiness, that's trauma. From you, she screamed, all pretense of control finally snapping. He's traumatized from your behavior. Your angry outbursts, your demands for attention, your jealousy every time I try to have a relationship with him. What angry outbursts? When have I ever? You cornered him in your kitchen. You made him cry. You've been harassing his mother, bothering Jake with your paranoid accusations. Enough. Jake's voice cut through our screaming match like a knife. Both of you, just stop. This is insane. But Linda wasn't done. She was finally saying everything she'd been thinking for months, and it was pouring out of her like poison from a burst dam. You want to know what I told Mason? I told him that sometimes adults get sick in their minds and start acting mean and scary. I told him he didn't have to spend time with people who made him feel bad, even if they were family. I told him he was safe with people who really loved him. My vision went wide around the edges. You told an 8-year-old that I was mentally ill? I told him the truth. That's when I knew there was no going back. No reconciliation, no Christmas miracle, no path forward where Linda and I coexisted peacefully in Mason's life. She just declared war in front of witnesses. And I was about to show her exactly what a woman who was actually sick in her mind could accomplish. You know what, Linda? I said, my voice deadly calm. You're absolutely right. I did take your precious PlayStation. The collective gasp that went through the room was almost comical. Jake's face went completely white. Kate grabbed Ryan's arm like she needed physical support. And Linda. Linda looked like I'd just confirmed every suspicion she'd ever had about me. I knew it, she whispered, then louder, I knew it. But here's the thing, I continued, pulling out my phone. I'm not keeping it. In fact, I'm about to do something that's going to make this the most memorable Christmas morning your family has ever had. My fingers flew across the screen as I opened Facebook and started typing a post. Everyone watched in horror as I crafted my message in real time. Christmas morning update. For anyone wondering why 8-year-old Mason won't be getting his PlayStation 5 surprise today, it's because his grandmother Linda has spent the last 3 months telling him that his Aunt Emma is mentally ill and dangerous. She systematically destroyed a child's relationship with someone who loved him, and then tried to buy his affection back with an $800 gaming console. The PlayStation is safe, by the way. I'll be donating it to Children's Hospital, where kids who are actually sick, not fake sick like Linda claims I am, can enjoy it. Merry Christmas, everyone. Christmas tree. Delete that right now. Linda lunged for my phone, but I was already hitting share and tagging every single member of Jake's extended family. Emma, what the hell are you doing? Jake grabbed my arm, but it was too late. My phone was already buzzing with notifications. I'm giving Linda exactly what she wanted, I said, shaking him off. She wanted everyone to know what kind of person I really am. Well, now they do. But they also know what kind of person she is. Kate was frantically pulling out her own phone. Oh my god, Emma. Aunt Carol just shared it. And Uncle Mike commented. Everyone's going to see this. Good. I was surprised by how calm I felt. Like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. Let them see it. Let them see all of it. Linda was shaking so hard she could barely speak. You vindictive bitch. You've ruined everything. Everything. No, Linda. You ruined everything 3 months ago when you decided to poison a child against me. I'm just making sure everyone knows the truth. Ryan cleared his throat awkwardly. Should I still come over to set up the— Oh. Right. There's nothing to set up. There's nothing to set up, I confirmed. But hey, Linda, look on the bright side. You won't have to worry about Mason being confused about family dynamics anymore. Because after today, I won't be part of them. Jake stared at me like I'd grown a second head. What does that mean? It means your mother got what she wanted. She wanted me out of Mason's life? Done. She wanted to prove I was the villain? Mission accomplished. She wanted this Christmas to be memorable? Well, congratulations, Linda. Nobody in this family is ever going to forget this Christmas. My phone kept buzzing. Comments were pouring in from Jake's relatives, and they weren't all supporting Linda like she probably expected. Jake's cousin Sarah, wait, Linda told Mason that Emma was dangerous? That's messed up. Uncle Mike, I always wondered why Mason seemed scared of Emma lately. This explains a lot. Jake's Aunt Jennifer, manipulating a child's emotions is abuse. I don't care if you're the grandmother. Linda was reading over my shoulder, her face getting redder with each comment. They don't understand. They don't know the whole story. Then tell them, I challenged. Explain to your family exactly what I did that was so terrible that you had to turn an 8-year-old against me. Go ahead, Linda. I'll wait. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Then opened it again like a fish gasping for air. Because there was nothing. There had never been anything. The silence stretched on for what felt like an eternity. Linda's mouth kept opening and closing, but no words came out. Finally, Jake stepped between us. Okay, this has gone far enough, he said, his voice strained. Emma, that Facebook post, you need to delete it. Right now. No. This isn't just about you and Mom anymore. You've dragged the entire family into this mess. Mason's going to see this eventually. Do you want him to read about himself on the internet? That hit me like a punch to the gut. I hadn't thought about Mason seeing the post, hadn't considered that other kids at school might show it to him. In my rage, I turned an 8-year-old into collateral damage. But before I could respond, Linda found her voice again. Delete it or I'm calling the police, she said, pulling out her phone with shaking hands. You stole my property. That's theft. I don't care if you're family. Kate looked panicked. Mom, you can't call the cops on Christmas Eve. Think about Mason. I am thinking about Mason. Linda shrieked. That woman has terrorized him for months, and now she's trying to destroy our family's reputation because she got caught. My phone buzzed with an incoming call. Jake's brother Mike's name flashed on the screen. Then it buzzed again, this time it was Jake's cousin Sarah. Then his Aunt Carol. They're all calling, I said, staring at my phone in growing horror. The whole family is calling. Ryan, who had been quietly scrolling through his own phone, looked up with wide eyes. Guys? This is spreading beyond just family. Someone shared it to one of those community Facebook groups. It's got like 50 comments already. What? Jake grabbed Ryan's phone and started reading. His face went gray. Oh shit. Oh shit, Emma, what did you do? Community groups? I felt sick. How is it in community groups? Jake's cousin Tommy shared it to that Moms of Cedar Valley page, Ryan said grimly. And someone screenshotted it and posted it in the neighborhood watch group. They have a lot of opinions about child manipulation. Linda was frantically typing on her own phone now. I'm doing damage control, she muttered. I'm telling everyone this is a lie, that Emma is having some kind of mental breakdown. Stop. Jake's voice was deadly quiet. Mom, just stop. We all turned to look at him. He was still holding Ryan's phone, but his eyes were fixed on something that had drained all the color from his face. What is it? Kate asked. Jake held up the phone so we could all see the screen. Someone named Jennifer Walsh had commented on the post, I know this family. That little boy Mason is in my daughter's class. He told her his Aunt Emma was bad and might hurt him. I thought it was weird that a kid would say something like that about family. Now it makes sense. Poor baby has been manipulated. My stomach dropped. Mason had been talking about me at school. To his classmates. To their parents. There's more, Jake said quietly, scrolling down. A lot more. Another parent had commented, my son mentioned this too. He said Mason wouldn't play with anyone who was nice to scary Aunt Emma during pickup. I thought the kid was just being dramatic. And another, the teacher mentioned Mason having anxiety about family events. Said he'd been asking if certain relatives would be there before agreeing to talk about family activities in class. Linda's face was white as she read over Jake's shoulder. The reality of what she'd done, how far her poison had spread, was finally hitting her. I didn't know he was talking about it at school, she whispered. Of course he was talking about it at school. I exploded. You convinced him his own aunt was dangerous. Did you think he'd just keep that trauma to himself? The doorbell rang, making us all jump. Through the window, I could see Jake's brother Mike and his wife standing on our porch, both looking grim. They drove over, Jake said unnecessarily. On Christmas Eve morning. This is a disaster. Linda was still staring at the phone, reading comment after comment from people who knew us, who knew Mason, who had witnessed the fallout of her manipulation without understanding what they were seeing. Fix this, she said suddenly, grabbing my arm. Delete the post and fix this. I'll tell Mason the truth about you. I'll fix things with him. I stared at her in disbelief. Now you want to fix things? Please, she whispered, and for the first time since I'd known her, Linda looked genuinely afraid. This is destroying everything. The doorbell rang again, more insistently this time. We should let them in, Kate said quietly. Before the neighbors start wondering why half the family is gathered on Jake and Emma's porch at 8 in the morning. As Jake walked toward the door, I realized that my carefully planned revenge had spiraled completely out of control. I'd wanted to humiliate Linda, but I'd accidentally created a wildfire that was consuming everything in its path. Including, potentially, the very person I'd been trying to protect. Mason. The next few hours turned our living room into a crisis management center that would have made FEMA jealous. Jake's brother Mike and his wife Amy had been just the beginning. By 10 a.m., half of Jake's extended family had shown up unannounced, all clutching their phones and demanding explanations. Uncle David was pacing by our fireplace, gesturing wildly as he spoke into his phone. No, Mom, you don't understand. It's all over Facebook. The neighbors are commenting. People from Emma's work are sharing it. My work. Jesus Christ, I hadn't thought about my work seeing this. Jake's cousin Sarah was huddled on our couch with Kate, both of them frantically trying to manage the online fallout. Okay, I reported the post in the neighborhood group as harassment, Sarah said. But there are already screenshots floating around, so I don't know if that'll help. Linda sat in her armchair like a queen whose kingdom was burning down around her, still clutching her phone but no longer trying to do damage control. She just kept staring at the screen, watching her carefully constructed reputation crumble in real time. Linda. Amy's voice cut through the chaos. We need to talk about Mason. Everyone went quiet. Amy was a child psychologist. If anyone understood the long-term implications of this mess, it was her. Kate called me this morning, filled me in on everything, Amy continued, her professional calm somehow making everything feel more serious. We have a problem. Multiple problems, actually. Kate looked like she might throw up. What kind of problems? Well, first, Mason's teacher is probably going to see these posts. Parents talk, especially when it involves a student. The school might feel obligated to report this as a potential family welfare issue. Report it to who? Jake asked. Child Services. The words hung in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. Linda made a sound like she'd been physically struck. They would take Mason away, she whispered. Amy shook her head. Not necessarily. But they'd investigate. They'd interview Mason, interview all of you, assess whether he's in a psychologically safe environment. And right now, with all this public evidence of family manipulation and conflict. She didn't need to finish. We all understood. There's something else, Amy said, pulling out her own phone. Kate, when was the last time you actually talked to Mason about Emma? Really talked to him, I mean. Not just accepted what he said at face value. Kate's face crumpled. I don't know. He seemed so sure, so frightened. And Linda was so concerned. Mom, Sarah interrupted, staring at her phone with wide eyes. You need to see this. She held up her screen, showing a text conversation. The contact name read Mason's teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez. The message was timestamped 20 minutes ago. Hi Kate, I hope you don't mind me reaching out on Christmas Eve, but I wanted to check on Mason. Some concerning posts about your family situation have been brought to my attention. Could we schedule a meeting after the holiday break? I'm worried about some things Mason has shared in class that now make more sense in context. She knows, Kate whispered. His teacher knows everything. Linda finally spoke up, her voice hollow. What did Mason tell his teacher? Kate was typing frantically on her phone, presumably responding to Mrs. Rodriguez. I don't know. She just says, concerning things. Mike, who had been quietly scrolling through his phone, suddenly cursed under his breath. It's in the Cedar Valley community forum now. Someone cross-posted it with the headline, Local Grandmother Accused of Psychological Abuse. Psychological abuse? Linda shot to her feet. I never abused anyone. I was protecting my grandson. From what? Amy's psychologist voice was calm but probing. Linda, I need you to walk me through exactly what you told Mason about Emma. Word for word. I told him that some people in families don't act right. That if someone made him feel scared or uncomfortable, he didn't have to spend time with them. What else? Linda glanced around the room, suddenly realizing she had an audience of professionals and parents who understood child psychology better than she'd anticipated. I might have mentioned that sometimes adults get sick in their heads and can't control their behavior. Amy's expression didn't change, but I saw Jake flinch. You told an 8-year-old that his aunt was mentally ill. I was trying to help him understand why Emma was acting erratically. What erratic behavior? Amy pressed. Give me specific examples. The silence stretched on. Linda's mouth opened and closed several times, but no examples came. Because there weren't any. My phone started ringing. The caller ID made my blood run cold. Mason, Kate's phone. Everyone in the room froze. He's calling, I whispered. Kate reached for my phone. Let me. No. I hit the answer button before I could lose my nerve. Hi, Mason. His small voice came through the speaker, clear enough for everyone to hear. Aunt Emma? Daddy showed me his computer. Are you really not going to be at Christmas anymore? The sound of my nephew's voice, scared, confused, but calling me Aunt Emma for the first time in months, broke something inside me that I didn't know was still intact. Mason, sweetheart, where are you right now? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady while Linda went rigid in her chair. I'm at Daddy's work. He had to come in for something and brought me. But Aunt Emma, everyone's being weird and sad. Daddy keeps looking at his phone and making angry faces. Jake's brother Mike. He must have seen the Facebook explosion and was probably fielding calls from relatives while trying to manage his Christmas Eve shift. Mason, Kate said loudly, honey, give the phone to Daddy, okay? But I want to talk to Aunt Emma. She sounds normal again. Not scary like Grandma Linda said. The room went dead silent. Linda's face turned ashen. What do you mean, buddy? I asked, my heart hammering. Grandma said your voice would sound mean and angry when you talked to me. But you sound like before. Like when you used to read me stories. Amy was frantically scribbling notes on a napkin. Sarah had her phone out, recording. Everyone understood we were hearing crucial evidence. Mason, Linda called out, her voice cracking. Sweetie, you don't need to. Grandma Linda? Are you there too? Mason's voice got smaller. Are you mad at me? I heard Daddy telling Uncle Jake that you were crying because of me. No, baby, not because of you. Mason. A man's voice came through the phone, Mike, picking up the call. Hey buddy, why don't you go color in my office while the grown-ups talk? We heard shuffling, then Mike's voice came back, low and furious. What the hell is happening over there? My phone's been ringing off the hook, my coworkers are showing me Facebook posts about our family, and now my 8-year-old is asking why Aunt Emma sounds normal instead of scary? Jake ran his hands through his hair. Mike, it's complicated. Complicated? Emma, what did you do? Before I could answer, another voice joined the call. A woman I didn't recognize. Excuse me, is this the Stewart family? Mike's voice became cautious. Who is this? This is Mrs. Rodriguez, Mason's teacher. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm here at the school finishing some last-minute preparations, and I couldn't help but notice Mason through the window in the adjacent building. Given the concerning social media posts I've seen this morning, I felt I should check on him personally. My blood turned to ice. Mason's teacher was there, right now, while we were having this conversation. Mrs. Rodriguez, Kate said quickly, there's been a misunderstanding. Actually, I think there's been a very clear understanding. Mason has been exhibiting signs of emotional distress for months. Anxiety about family gatherings, fear responses when certain relatives are mentioned, and concerning statements about adult behavior that I documented but didn't fully comprehend until this morning. Linda stood up abruptly. I need to go. I need to go talk to her, explain. Linda, sit down, Amy commanded in her therapist voice. You're not going anywhere near that school right now. Mrs. Rodriguez, I said into the phone, I know how this looks, but Mason is safe. His father is with him, and we're all here trying to sort out a family situation that got out of hand. Ms. Emma? This is Mason again. His little voice came back on the line, and I could hear he was crying. Mrs. Rodriguez says she wants to talk to me about my family feelings. But I don't want to. I just want Christmas to be normal again. I want you to not be scary anymore, and I want Grandma Linda to stop whispering about you, and I want everyone to stop being sad. The collective intake of breath in our living room was audible. Even Linda looked stricken. Mason, I whispered, you are not in trouble, okay? None of this is your fault. But if I hadn't told Grandma Linda that I missed our blanket forts, maybe she wouldn't have gotten so upset about you. maybe none of this would have happened. That's when I realized the truth that everyone in the room was beginning to understand. Mason had never actually been afraid of me. He'd been afraid of disappointing Linda. The silence that followed Mason's confession was deafening. Linda's face went through about 5 different shades of pale before settling on a sickly gray that matched our winter sky. What do you mean, sweetheart? I asked gently, while everyone in the room held their breath. I told Grandma Linda that I missed building forts with you and reading books with funny voices. And she got really quiet and sad looking. Then she asked me lots of questions about whether you ever made me feel bad or scared, and I said no, but then she kept asking and asking. My heart was breaking and racing at the same time. What kind of questions, Mason? Like, did you ever yell at me, or did you ever say mean things about Grandma Linda, or did you ever make me keep secrets? And I kept saying no, but she looked so worried that I started thinking maybe I forgot something? Maybe you did do bad stuff and I just didn't remember? Linda had sunk back into the armchair, her face buried in her hands. Kate was staring at her mother with growing horror. And then, Mason continued, his small voice getting even quieter. Grandma Linda said sometimes when people love us, they help us remember things that might be scary. She said maybe I felt scared around you but didn't know it was okay to say so. Jesus Christ, Mom, Kate whispered. Mrs. Rodriguez's voice came back on the line. I'm going to need to speak with all of the adults involved in Mason's care. This conversation is providing context for several concerning behaviors I've documented over the past few months. What behaviors? Mike asked, though he sounded like he already dreaded the answer. Mason has been exhibiting classic signs of psychological manipulation. Confusion about his own memories and feelings, anxiety about getting in trouble for having positive thoughts about certain family members, and repeatedly asking for permission to feel certain ways about people. Amy was nodding grimly, still taking notes. That's textbook emotional manipulation of a child. Linda finally looked up from her hands. I was trying to protect him. From what, Linda? Jake's voice was deadly quiet. From someone who loved him? From his own aunt who never did a damn thing wrong? She was always trying to be his favorite. Always undermining my authority, always. Stop. Mason's voice cut through the speakerphone, louder than I'd ever heard him speak. Everyone stop fighting. I don't want to choose favorites anymore. I don't want to be scared of loving people anymore. The raw pain in that little boy's voice hit every adult in the room like a physical blow. Mason, honey, Kate started. No, Mommy. Everyone keeps asking me how I feel and then telling me I'm wrong when I say it. Grandma Linda asks if I miss Aunt Emma, and when I say yes, she gets upset. Daddy asks if Grandma Linda has been saying weird things, and when I say yes, he gets mad. I just want to love everyone without everyone getting sad. Mrs. Rodriguez's voice was gentle but firm. Mason, you're going to come sit with me for a few minutes while the grown-ups figure some things out, okay? And no one is going to ask you how you feel about anyone. We're just going to talk about Christmas and cookies and normal 8-year-old things. Okay, Mason sniffled. But Mrs. Rodriguez? Can you tell everyone that I love Aunt Emma and Grandma Linda? Even if they can't love each other? After Mason's footsteps faded away, Mrs. Rodriguez's voice returned, all business. I'll be filing a report with the school district on Monday. This level of family dysfunction is affecting Mason's emotional development and his ability to form healthy relationships with peers. He's been isolating himself from classmates who mention their aunts or extended family members. Linda looked like she might faint. A report? The school is mandated to report suspected emotional abuse. And what I've heard today, combined with Mason's behavioral changes over the past months, constitutes a clear pattern of psychological manipulation of a minor. My phone started buzzing with text notifications again. Sarah glanced at her screen and cursed under her breath. Now what? Jake asked. Someone recorded Mason's call, she said grimly. There's a new post in the community group with audio clips. The headline is Listen to this 8-year-old describe being manipulated by his grandmother. What? I grabbed her phone. Sure enough, someone had been screen recording during the call and posted snippets of Mason's conversation. His little voice saying, I started thinking maybe I forgot something and I don't want to be scared of loving people anymore, was now public record. Linda made a sound like a wounded animal. My grandson's voice is on the internet. Talking about. About what you did to him, Amy finished quietly. Linda, do you understand the legal implications of this now? This isn't just family drama anymore. This is documented evidence of child psychological abuse, and it's spreading faster than anyone can control it. My phone rang again. This time, the caller ID made my stomach drop to my feet. Department of Children and Family Services. I stared at my phone screen, my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped it. Department of Children and Family Services blinked at me like a neon warning sign. Answer it, Amy said quietly. Running from this won't help Mason now. I hit the speaker button with a trembling finger. Hello? This is Sandra Martinez with DCFS. I'm calling regarding a welfare concern that's been reported involving a minor named Mason Stewart. I understand multiple family members are present? The room had gone so silent I could hear everyone's breathing. Linda looked like she was about to pass out. Yes, we're here, Jake managed. What exactly has been reported? We've received multiple calls this morning regarding social media posts and audio recordings suggesting potential psychological manipulation of an 8-year-old child. Additionally, the child's school has flagged concerning behavioral changes. I'm going to need to conduct interviews with all adults involved in the child's care. Today? Kate's voice was barely a whisper. It's Christmas Eve. Child welfare doesn't take holidays, Mrs. Stewart. I can be there within the hour, or we can arrange to have Mason placed in temporary protective custody until after the holiday when a full investigation can be conducted. The words protective custody hit the room like a grenade. Linda let out a choked sob, and Kate started hyperventilating. No, Kate gasped. No, you can't take him. It's Christmas. He's safe. His father's with him. Mrs. Stewart, I need you to calm down. No decisions have been made yet. But given the viral nature of these posts and the number of community members who contacted our office with concerns, we need to assess the situation immediately. My mind was racing. This was my fault. My revenge plot against Linda had spiraled into something that could destroy Mason's entire world. Ms. Martinez, I said, my voice steadier than I felt, I'm Emma, Mason's aunt. The Facebook post was mine. I was angry and I made a terrible decision. But Mason is safe. He's never been in physical danger. Emotional abuse is still abuse, Miss Stewart. And from what I'm hearing in these recordings, this child has been subjected to systematic psychological manipulation. Linda finally found her voice. I would never hurt my grandson. Everything I did was to protect him. Protect him from what, specifically? The question hung in the air. Linda's mouth opened and closed, but no answer came. Ma'am? Sandra pressed. Can you articulate what threat you were protecting the child from? She was. Linda looked around the room desperately, as if someone might give her an acceptable answer. She was too involved. Always trying to be his favorite. Being a loving aunt is not a threat that requires protection, Mrs. Garrett. Did Ms. Emma ever physically harm the child? No. Did she ever verbally abuse him? Not exactly, but... Did she ever engage in any inappropriate behavior with the child? No, but you don't understand. What I understand, Sandra interrupted, is that you convinced an 8-year-old that a loving family member was dangerous without any factual basis. And now that child is exhibiting signs of emotional distress that his teacher has documented over several months. Amy leaned toward the phone. Ms. Martinez, this is Dr. Amy Stewart, Mason's aunt and a licensed child psychologist. I've been documenting this conversation, and I believe Mason would benefit from an immediate therapeutic intervention rather than removal from his father's care. Dr. Stewart, I appreciate your professional input, but you're also family. There's a conflict of interest here. Then bring in an independent evaluator. But please, don't traumatize this child further by separating him from his father on Christmas Eve. He's already been through enough. My phone buzzed with another incoming call. Mrs. Rodriguez. Ms. Martinez, I said quickly, Mason's teacher is trying to call. She's with him right now. Can we conference her in? She can give you an immediate assessment of his current state. Put her through. I merged the calls, and suddenly our living room was connected to both child services and Mason's school. Mrs. Rodriguez? This is Sandra Martinez with DCFS. Can you give me your professional assessment of Mason's current emotional state? He seems more relaxed than I've seen him in months. Once the adults stopped asking him to choose sides, he started acting like a normal 8-year-old again. But Ms. Martinez, this child has been carrying an enormous emotional burden. He's been trying to protect everyone's feelings while suppressing his own. Is he in immediate danger? Not from his father, no. Mike is a good dad. But this family system is severely damaged. This child needs stability and therapy, not more upheaval. Sandra was quiet for a long moment. I'm going to come out to assess the situation personally. But I want that child kept away from Mrs. Garrett until I can determine the extent of the psychological damage. Linda let out another sob, but nobody moved to comfort her. And Ms. Emma? I'll need to speak with you about your decision to make this situation public. Your actions may have been intended to help, but they potentially traumatized this child further. She was right. In my quest for revenge against Linda, I'd made everything infinitely worse. The doorbell rang again, and through the window I could see a news van pulling up to our curb. Oh God, Jake whispered. The media found us. The news van was like a signal flare for chaos. Within minutes, our quiet suburban street had transformed into a media circus that would have been laughable if it wasn't destroying my family in real time. Don't answer the door, Sandra Martinez's voice crackled through the speakerphone. Media involvement complicates everything from a legal standpoint. But it was too late. Through our front window, I watched a perfectly coiffed reporter approach our porch while her cameraman sat up on our lawn. Behind them, neighbors were emerging from their houses like prairie dogs, phones already out and recording. This is a nightmare, Kate whispered, peeking through the blinds. Mrs. Chen from across the street is giving an interview. She's never even spoken to Mason. Linda had gone completely catatonic, just staring at her hands while her entire reputation crumbled on live television. Jake was frantically trying to call his brother Mike, but the calls kept going straight to voicemail. The school must have told them to turn their phones off, Amy said grimly. Standard protocol when media shows up. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Emma Stewart? This is Channel 7 News. We'd like to get your side of the story about the grandmother manipulation scandal. Can we set up an interview? They have my personal number, I said, my voice hollow. How do they have my personal number? Sarah looked up from her own phone, her face pale. Because someone doxed you. Your full name, Jake's name, Linda's address, Kate's workplace, it's all in the comments now. People are calling this the Christmas grandmother horror story. Horror story? Linda finally spoke, her voice cracking. That's what they're calling me? A horror story? Before anyone could answer, the reporter outside pressed our doorbell and started speaking loudly enough for us to hear through the door. Mrs. Stewart, this is Channel 7 News. We understand there's been a family situation involving child manipulation. We'd love to hear your perspective on these serious allegations. Sandra's voice came through the speaker again, sharp and authoritative. Do not engage with media. This is now evidence in a child welfare case. Anything you say can be used in custody proceedings. Custody proceedings. The words hit me like a sledgehammer. This wasn't just about embarrassing Linda anymore. This was about Mason potentially losing his family. Ms. Martinez, I said desperately, what can we do to fix this? What do we need to do to protect Mason? First, someone needs to get control of that social media situation. Every new share and comment is creating a bigger circus. Second, I need Mrs. Garrett to undergo a psychological evaluation before she has any contact with the child again. A psychological evaluation? Linda's voice was barely audible. You think I'm mentally ill? The irony wasn't lost on anyone in the room. Linda had spent months telling Mason that I was the one who was mentally unstable. I think you systematically manipulated a child's emotions and seem incapable of understanding why that's problematic, Sandra replied bluntly. That warrants professional assessment. Jake's phone finally rang, Mike calling back. He answered immediately and put it on speaker. They won't let me leave the building, Mike said without preamble. There are reporters in the parking lot asking about the Mason Stewart family trauma case. His teacher is staying with us until you can figure out how to get him home safely. Safely? Kate's voice rose to near hysteria. He needs to get home safely from school because of something we did? Because of something Linda did, Amy corrected firmly. Let's be clear about responsibility here. But I knew better. Linda had planted the seeds, but I'd poured gasoline on them and struck the match. My revenge plot had turned into a wildfire that was consuming everything in its path. The reporter outside was getting louder, and now I could hear her speaking to her cameraman. This is definitely the house. The grandmother accused of psychological abuse lives next door, but the aunt who exposed it all lives here. This is going to be a huge story. A huge story. My nephew's trauma was going to be entertainment for strangers eating Christmas Eve dinner. And somewhere across town, an 8-year-old boy was trapped in his father's office building, probably wondering why Christmas had turned into such a disaster. Sandra's voice cut through my spiral of guilt. I'm 10 minutes away. And Mrs. Stewart? You better have some answers ready about how you plan to undo this mess you created. When Sandra Martinez from Child Services walked through our front door, she looked exactly like what you'd expect from someone who'd seen every kind of family nightmare imaginable. Mid-40s, sensible shoes, and eyes that could assess a situation in seconds. She surveyed our living room full of shell-shocked relatives like a general taking stock of a battlefield. Which one of you is Linda Garrett? She asked, pulling out a tablet and stylus. Linda raised her hand like a guilty schoolchild. That's me. And you're Emma Stewart, the aunt who made the initial Facebook post? I nodded, my mouth too dry to speak. Sandra's eyes moved methodically around the room, cataloging each person. Before we begin, I need everyone to understand that this conversation is being documented for potential legal proceedings. Anything you say can and will be used in determining Mason's welfare and custody arrangements. The word custody made Kate let out a small whimper. Now, Sandra continued, settling into our coffee table chair like she owned it. Let's start with a basic timeline. Mrs. Garrett, when did you first begin telling Mason that his aunt was dangerous? I never said she was dangerous. Ma'am, I have audio recordings of the child stating that you told him his aunt was bad and might hurt him. Are you denying you said those things? Linda's face crumpled. I was trying to help him understand why she was acting so strangely. What strange behavior? Give me specific incidents with dates. The silence stretched on. Linda kept opening her mouth and closing it, but no examples materialized. Sandra made a note on her tablet. So you convinced an 8-year-old that his aunt was a threat without any documented incidents of concerning behavior. Is that accurate? You're twisting my words. Mrs. Garrett, I've been doing this job for 15 years. I've seen actual child abuse cases, real threats, genuine danger. What you've described so far is a grandmother who didn't like sharing her grandson's affection. Before Linda could respond, Sandra's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and frowned. We have another problem, she said grimly. Mason's father just texted me. Apparently, some of Mason's classmates saw the news coverage and started calling him at school. Other parents are now contacting the school asking if their children are safe around the family from the news. My heart sank even further. Other kids are scared of Mason now? Worse. Some parents are questioning whether Mason himself might be psychologically damaged enough to be a threat to other children. The school is fielding calls from concerned parents who saw him described as manipulated and traumatized on social media. Kate looked like she was going to be sick. They think Mason is dangerous because of what happened to him? Unfortunately, yes. This is exactly why family trauma cases should never become public spectacles. You've essentially branded an 8-year-old child with a scarlet letter. Outside, I could hear the reporter doing another live update. The family remains barricaded inside while Child Services conducts an emergency welfare check. Neighbors report this quiet suburban family seemed normal until today's shocking revelations. Barricaded. Like we were criminals holding hostages. Sandra stood up abruptly. I'm going to need to interview each adult separately. But first, we need to address the immediate crisis. Mrs. Stewart, she looked at me, that Facebook post needs to come down right now. Every minute it stays up creates more damage. But people already screenshotted it. Then we minimize further spread. Delete it. Now. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and navigated to Facebook. The post now had over 300 comments and had been shared 89 times. People I'd never met were debating Linda's mental health, questioning Jake's parenting, and speculating about Mason's future. My finger hovered over the delete button. Removing it felt like admitting defeat, like Linda would somehow win after everything she'd done. But then I saw a new comment that made my blood freeze. Someone should call CPS on this whole family. That poor kid needs to be removed from all these crazy people. I'm deleting it, I whispered, hitting the button before I could change my mind. Sandra nodded approvingly, but her expression remained grim. Good. Now we need to figure out how to get Mason home without him being photographed by news crews. Because right now, this traumatized 8-year-old is about to become the most famous child abuse victim in the tri-state area. The solution came from an unexpected source, Mason himself. Sandra's phone rang, and Mrs. Rodriguez's voice filled the room through the speaker. Ms. Martinez, I think you need to hear this. Mason has something he wants to say to everyone. Put him through, Sandra said, and suddenly my nephew's small but determined voice was addressing our entire crisis management war room. I know everyone's really upset and scared, Mason said, his 8-year-old voice carrying a gravity that broke my heart. But I figured out what I want for Christmas. What's that, sweetie? Kate asked, tears streaming down her face. I want everyone to stop being mean to each other because of me. And I want to tell everyone the truth so they stop making up scary stories. Sandra leaned forward. Mason, what truth do you want to tell? That I love Aunt Emma and I love Grandma Linda, but Grandma Linda got confused and thought love was like pie, that if I loved Aunt Emma too much, there wouldn't be enough left for her. But love isn't like pie. There's always enough. The simplicity of his words hit everyone in the room like a lightning bolt. This 8-year-old had just summed up the root of our entire crisis in terms any adult should have been able to understand. And I want to tell the news people that Grandma Linda isn't a monster. She just got scared and made bad choices. Like when I broke Dad's lamp and lied about it because I was scared he'd be disappointed in me. Linda was sobbing openly now, but they weren't tears of self-pity anymore. They were tears of recognition, finally understanding what she'd done from the perspective of the child she'd claimed to protect. Mason, Sandra said gently, you don't need to worry about fixing the grown-up problems. But I do, he interrupted, and I could picture his determined little face. Because it's my family, and families take care of each other. Even when they mess up really bad. Mrs. Rodriguez's voice returned. He wants to make a video. To set the record straight, he says. Obviously, I can't authorize that without parental consent, but... Absolutely not, Jake said immediately. He's 8 years old. He doesn't need to be on camera defending us. But Mason's voice came back, stubborn and sure. Daddy, the stories about us are already everywhere. At least if I tell the real story, people will know the truth instead of just the scary parts. Sandra was quiet for a long moment. It's unconventional, but it might actually be the fastest way to control the narrative. If Mason speaks for himself, it could prevent weeks of speculation and investigation. 2 hours later, Mrs. Rodriguez had helped Mason record a simple video on her phone. No news crews, no reporters, just an 8-year-old boy sitting in his teacher's classroom, speaking directly to the camera with the kind of honesty that only children can manage. Hi, my name is Mason, and everyone's been talking about my family today. I want you to know that I'm okay, and I love everyone in my family, even when they make mistakes. Grandma Linda didn't mean to hurt me, she just forgot that kids can love lots of people at the same time. And Aunt Emma was just trying to protect me, but she made some bad choices too. But that's what families do, we mess up and then we fix it together. The video went viral faster than my original post had, but this time the comments were different. Instead of outrage and judgment, people shared stories of their own family conflicts, their own moments of jealousy and reconciliation. By Christmas morning, the news vans had moved on to other stories. Sandra had closed the case with a recommendation for family therapy, and Mason was sitting on Linda's living room floor, teaching his grandmother how to play the video games on the PlayStation that I'd quietly returned Christmas Eve night. You know, he said, looking up at Linda with those wise 8-year-old eyes, next Christmas, maybe we can all just ask for what we really want instead of getting scared about it. Linda hugged him tight, finally understanding that what she'd really wanted all along wasn't to be his only favorite person, it was simply to know that her love mattered, that she had a place in his heart that would always be hers. And watching them together, I realized that sometimes the best revenge isn't about proving you're right, it's about helping everyone remember how to love each other better.